And so let me say welcome to ACIM Talks. And it is Monday yet again. Time goes fast when you get my age or maybe our age. But it's Monday, October 16th around 7 p.m. Eastern. And we're here for some more ACIM Talks. We have a seasoned group of A Course in Miracles students with us, and we are looking at some related A Course in Miracles information. I hope you'll see it that way. The first thing I have tonight is we're going to talk about Dr. David Hawkins. Mm-hmm. Are any of you familiar with David Hawkins?
Yep. No.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, why don't we start with a quick bio of who David Hawkins is? And to do that, I just put together my usual PDF about power versus force, and there's a picture of Dr. David Hawkins, the author. But God, he's got probably 50, 60 books, but I've read only a couple of them. But Power versus Force to me was one of my favorite books in terms of helping me on my spiritual path, excuse me. So why don't we, to make this easy, let's just go ahead and get our readers set up, because I'm going to start with having us to just read this little bio. You see, it's just a few paragraphs.
Uh-huh.
So, Kathleen, would you be reader 1, and then D, and then Joan, and then, okay, Kathleen 1, D 2, Joan 3, Sherilyn 4, and I'll be number 5. Is that okay?
Yep.
So, without further ado, let's introduce all of us to Dr. David Hawkins. Kathleen, you want to read the first paragraph, please?
Sure. Who is the author of Power versus Force? Sir David R. Hawkins, MD, PhD, is the best-selling author, a nationally renowned psychiatrist, physician, researcher, and spiritual teacher and lecturer. The uniqueness of his contribution to humanity comes from the advanced state of spiritual awareness known as enlightenment, self-realization, and unio mystica.
Yeah. Let's keep going. D.
What is power versus force about? Power versus Force, The Hidden Determinants of Human Behavior, is a book by David R. Hawkins that discusses the concept of power versus force in human behavior and how it affects our thoughts, emotions, and actions.
And Joan?
The book discusses how to increase our level of power and reduce our reliance on force, and how to recognize and avoid the influence of force in our own lives and in the world around us.
Thank you. And Sherilyn, the last paragraph.
Power versus Force is a thought-provoking book. It presents that every act, thought, and choice, our decisions, can affect the lives of everyone. We think we live by forces we control, but in fact, we are governed by power from unrevealed sources, power over which we have no control.
Thank you. And I'm going to move this along because I have a couple of short videos to show you about the difference between power and force. There's a lot we could talk about, but let's start by just showing the video, or at least the first one, and see what kind of questions we might have. Hold on a minute, I've got to start over. Sorry. I got to get it queued up for video. So let's do it that way. And I'll start this. It's about 3.5 minutes.
The fact that our consciousness has now emerged, so a new emergence of awareness is dominating the whole field of human
That's
consciousness,
Dr. Hawkins.
with profound implications for everyone. All right, so 200 then denotes a difference between, and again, it is not a level of opposites. It's not that 200 above is one reality and below 200 is another reality. It's not good versus bad. This is a thermometer, and this is the thermometer. And the presence of God, the presence of love, is what accounts for the calibration. Above this level, you go strong, and below it goes weak. And it looks like you're looking at true and false. It looks like you're looking at good and evil, but that is not the case. The case is that, you see, water is still water, whether it's ice, liquid, or steam. The only thing that changes there is temperature. Above this temperature, you got over 212, it changes its quality. Then below 212, it turns back into liquid, it changes its quality, but it's still just water. Then at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it changes its quality and turns into a solid. So you can't say steam is the opposite of ice, or that water is the opposite of steam. You understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to get out of trying to use this in any kind of a positionality. As the temperature increases or decreases, then quality changes. The same with light in a room. There's not two different things, light and dark. Huh? There is intense light. As the light gets lower and lower and lower, it gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, and then it's harder and harder to see. And we say it's dusk or dark, There's only one variable, and that's light, the presence of light. That's the only variable. There's not two things, light and dark. You can't take a box of darkness and put it someplace or say, shine me some darkness in this closet. It doesn't have any existence. The only reality then is light, and light is either present or not present, and it's present to varying degrees. So the analogy is that the love of God is like the light, and up here the love of God is quite intense, and down here it diminishes and becomes progressively darker. When this happens, the human emotion that goes with it goes through the whole panorama, from an ecstatic state, there's a state beyond ecstasy, a blissful state of absolute serenity and stillness. As the calibrated levels come down, you see the shift of emotions. And below 200, we notice that these emotions are classically negative and painful. And here down at the bottom, they become quite severe, and suicide, they even lead to suicide.
So hopefully I put it on pause. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I just wanted to stop for a moment and how many of you know what I mean by kinesiology, the study of movement?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with strength testing?
Yep.
Yep.
All of you?
Yes.
Sherilyn, you
Yes.
too, right? You remember that from Unity of Livonia.
Yes.
And then there was another thing called tapology.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, these things say the truth is in you, and you can have somebody hold out their hand and you can try and push it down, but you can say something that's true and it'll stay strong. And if what you're saying is not true, your hand will go weak, right?
Yes.
So all of Dr. Hawkins' work is based on this type of strength testing. You could take earlier editions of the Bible that would strength test higher than later versions. You can hold some, what is that kind of rock and roll music? It will be weaker than some other music. All right, so I just want to make sure we're on the same page. And he was showing this chart of calibrations, and up, I don't know, around 700s, you're starting to get into avatars and spiritual masters and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
85%, he said, of this is a video is from way back in 2002, but he said roughly 85% of the public calibrates below 200. Only 15% are above, and yet the 15% that calibrate higher offset 85% to keep us at a relatively operational level. Anyhow, I'm going to stop there. I'm talking too much. Any questions? I got another short video, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go back into screen share and see if, oh no, did I close it? Bear with me. No worries. Let's try this. This is what I want to show you next. Okay. Let's see where we are here. Maybe it would help.
Yeah, the audio is off.
Yeah, bear with me, folks.
Uh-huh.
I'm still working on.
I think, and that's
There
an
you
example
go.
of power over
Yeah.
force. So the answer comes through communication, not through conflict. Communication is power, conflict is force.
Ta-da!
How can we define power, and how can we define force? So what are they? One can say that force is movement, where power is stillness. Gandhi was a man who defeated the British Empire without firing a shot or physically fighting, and that's an example of power over force. So the answer comes through communication, not through conflict. Communication is power, conflict is force. Another way to view this is by understanding a simple law of physics, such as force creates a counterforce. Every action has a reaction. If you throw a punch to a punching bag, you will immediately feel a response through your entire body. Power stands still. Gravity is an example of power. Gravity does not move, but its power moves everything within its area. The simple pen has a lot more power than a sword because its power comes from the mind. A monk who can break 20 bricks with just a single hit is another example of power. But his power doesn't come from his body, it comes from his mind as well. So again, power is that perfect alignment and stillness, where force is movement. Now, the big idea number 2 goes something like, to be or not to be is not a choice. One may decide to be this or that, but to be is simply the only fact there is. Human mind is like a computer connected to a giant database, and this database is the human conscious itself. So it's like I'm part of everyone and everyone is part of me. But what are we? We are simply a microcosm of energies mixed together into a sparkling cocktail. And your life is so important and meaningful, and your life is also so unimportant and unmeaningful. Like me now, I'm having this virtual conversation with you and I'm part of you. But if you respond to me, you will also become part of me. If I lose my memory tomorrow, will I be dead? The answer is no, because the idea still remains. It's connected, it's there. That's power. The universe has a single law, and that's economy. All serves a purpose. If you see a fly on your window, that fly can inspire you to invent the next flying machine or whatever, but also someone else can kill that fly and the little thingy can serve as dinner for another animal. As I said, nothing is wasted. The giant database of human consciousness transcends both time and space, has no limitations, and it's simply there.
So have I shown enough to spark some stimulating conversation? Did you see any connection between those videos? In short, what's power versus force?
Well, truth and communication is power.
Yeah. And force is a much weaker way to get things done. What about that statement that Gandhi was able to bring about independence for India without firing a shot?
Mhm.
It's impressive, that's for sure.
What did Gandhi use instead? Power is from stillness. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
Sherilyn, was there a comment from you?
Yeah, I said communication was important for Gandhi.
Yeah.
Successful.
What was and Martin Luther King Jr. took note of Gandhi's methods too, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
What were they both appealing to?
Nonviolence, that's for sure.
And so they weren't appealing to violence for power. What were they appealing to instead? There must be another kind of power, wouldn't you say?
Love. Love.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so did you hear the part when they showed Dr. David Hawkins, the title of that old video said something about God or about the power of love? In the second video, they gave an example of power versus force, and the example had to do with gravity. Did you hear that at all? as an example of power. What were they saying about gravity? Gravity, does gravity do anything?
It just is.
Just yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so do you see how that's a different kind of power than the power where you have to do something?
Mhm.
What about his comments regarding light and darkness? He said they weren't two things, didn't he?
Yeah.
What did he say they were, if not two things?
It was just a continuation of light until it was so
He said the love
So
of God is
reduced.
like the light.
Yeah. And Sherilyn, you were about, I think you
He's-
guys on the same page. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Roscoe. Yeah.
he said that the darkness was not a different thing. It was just the lack of light.
So the darkness is not real.
No.
It's the absence of light, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've said, or at least I've said in my Course in Miracles work, that fear is not a thing. It's the absence or the perceived absence of a thing.
Hmm.
Light is always there, but it's like, how much of a dimmer switch have you turned on? Isn't it the world that covers over the light with its teachings of separation, etc.? And yet the light didn't go anywhere. It just got covered over. So to me, what starts to elevate people in strength testing is their perception of light. Comments from you all. Is that your understanding of power versus force? You all said you knew about this before we got started.
No, I never thought of it that way.
May I ask how you were thinking of it previously?
Just my familiarity of it is with his scale, his kinesiology scale.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the thing about here, do you all know the definition of the word guru?
Well, I know it is GURU.
Yeah. And if you look it up, the definition of guru is a dispeller of darkness. I know Kathleen's probably looked it up already.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
That's a dispeller of darkness. That's great.
Uh-huh.
So what is the guru's role? It's not to bring in the light. It's to get rid of the darkness, and the light will be there. The light does not have to do anything. It just is.
It's kind of, I use the example of the sun.
Yeah.
The sun is always there. If the cloud goes in front of the sun
Right.
doesn't disappear. It's just that you can't see it. It's that you're not open. It's there. It's just always there.
It's off your radar. It's off
Yeah.
your spectrum.
Yeah.
And the body's eyes themselves, it's been proven scientifically that the spectrum of visibility is way bigger than how much our eyes can bring in and interpret. We're just a very small part of that spectrum. So as we increase our abilities to widen the spectrum of what we are aware of and can become aware of, we begin to see how much more there is. And isn't that what's happening as part of our spiritual practice? Do you remember for many years there was a fight between science and religion? But in the past 50 years, it says in the Bible, God will confound the foolish. And it used to be a fight, but in the last 50 years, particularly with the introduction of quantum physics, we're starting to see that they were just different paths to the same realization. And so I try and, again, we're in that same ballpark that we talked about last week. When you start seeing the same conclusions from so many different approaches, it gives us confidence that this truth is indeed true. And that's the point of, I don't know, I just wait each week and Spirit tells me what to put on the agenda. What did you think of that?
I like the analogy that you're bringing to it. It's actually how the course starts, that we have to remove all the blocks. The course isn't out to teach us what love is, but about removing the blocks to love's presence.
The awareness of love's presence. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want a lot more power, work on getting it from something that's already here, never changed and never changes. It just is. Started to say friggin' is. All right. I hope that's helpful tonight.
It is. Yeah. Thank you.
Worthwhile. Okay. So having said that, I think we're ready for A Course in Miracles and the 12-step program.
Joel Goldsmith, a modern day mystic,
Yes.
often says there are not two powers. We're either practicing the presence of God or the absence of God.
Yep. All
Same
around
idea.
subject, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about water and its appearances.
Right.
But
Right.
it's always the same thing. It doesn't have to do anything to be what it is. I have us in Charles Anderson's comparison. Maybe I'll share screen, right? And we'll get
Yes, please.
with that. All right. I show we left off on page 14, the first full paragraph. Sherilyn, were you our last reader?
Yes, I was.
So it's gonna be my turn to start, right? So let me get the right document up here. All right, we're gonna go bigger. Bear with me. Bigger, about this big. So, page 14, first full paragraph. Do you remember what we were talking about last week at all?
I don't. I need a reminder.
Yeah, I do too. So let's just be honest about it here.
Yeah, I don't
Our
remember.
stories disclose in a general way. Here we come to the 12-step program, and here we come to A Course in Miracles, what we used to be like. And this is our continually looking at our human pursuits, isn't it? I don't want that. What we used to be like, what happened to us in the discovery of the miraculous intent, what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. This is a group that then comes together and says very simply, I have had a miraculous occurrence in my own mind, and I want to share the joy and happiness of peace I have found by this experience. Isn't this so? Not studying my relationship with my mother-in-law or my ex-husband in order to hold on to the resentment of the problem I had in the first place. Now, having read that, let me continue and then we'll talk about all of it, okay? So comparing the fundamental principles of recovery in the 12-step program with those of A Course in Miracles, we see that they begin with some admission of an absolute inability to solve the problems of your own personal existence, self-identity, and continue to the total necessity for a transformative spiritual experience. I saw an article in some magazine about a young recovering alcoholic who had been told by his sponsor that the 12-step program had nothing to do with A Course in Miracles, that A Course in Miracles was very complicated and mysterious and was too difficult to be understood. What nonsense. We're very determined here that you understand the fundamental basis of both of these teachings. Don't get caught in the wash of therapy. These are programs of continuing conscious contact with God or universal mind that free you from the insanity of an intolerable worldly self-conception that required an ever-increasing sedativism. I am free from self-will run riot. I am free from self-will run riot. Okay, I can take a breath. Where are we? What's he saying?
Well, to me, he's saying we can't do it on our own. We've tried it on with our own self-concept, from our own ego, and we have failed, and we've seen that doesn't work.
No. And we may have tried in many ways to make it work from a self-conceptualization. And what I saw in that first paragraph, it said, and I want to share the joy and happiness. Do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
I want to share the joy and happiness of the peace I have found by this experience. Isn't that what those in 12-step and sponsors want to do?
Yeah.
Yes.
We share our experience, strength, and hope.
It's like my cup is full and running over. And it makes me so happy. I want to share it with others who thought there was no way out, with others that thought their lives were unmanageable. Because I found, oh my God, that there is a savior from this. What do y'all think?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're all, Kathleen, have you gone through this before entirely? You introduced me to it.
The whole thing, yeah. Many years ago, I read the whole thing, but I
Okay.
just came across it. So this is kind of like new or reviewed.
Okay, so do we think we're on a fairly firm interpretation of what's being said?
Here, yeah.
Okay, and okay, so with that summary, he talks then about a 12-step sponsor who said that 12 steps and had nothing at all to do with A Course in Miracles. But Charles says he saw the connection and that it is a true connection. You know, we're doing Song of Prayer and psychotherapy, and all of these seem to be extensions to me of the main A Course in Miracles text, workbook, and manual for teachers. What about this last sentence? I am free from self-will run riot. What's that mean?
Well, my ego's always trying to convince me I could do it on my own and I can have control over myself and others.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What say the rest of you? I am free from self-will run riot.
I wish I were.
The
Would you
conscious
rather-
contact with God is what frees us.
Yes.
Do you see how my theory of activity is force,
Mm-hmm.
but true happiness and joy comes from the power of my creation? Would you rather be right or happy?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And-
when I started the course, I thought being right was being happy. Honestly, that's what I thought. I
Yeah.
don't anymore,
No,
but that's where I started.
Yeah. And so happiness, what do I have to do to be happy? I have to be, not do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't get me wrong, there'll be things to be done. Lesson 135, I forget what paragraph, it's a long lesson, but it says, if there are plans to be made, you will be told of them.
Hmm.
So I do plan. But it's a perfect example is what I was telling you guys before. Our agenda I send an agenda. I'm an organized person, but what goes on to the agenda doesn't come from Jim. You with me?
Mhm.
Mhm.
If there are plans to be made, you will be told of them. So all I have to do is go through my work, and rest assured by the time it gets, I don't know, Saturday for sure, I know what we're going to talk about on Monday. But I don't have to sit down and figure it out per se. I know every week the right and perfect thing is going to show up. And y'all seem to like it okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So looks like the Holy Spirit's doing a good job, right?
Yep.
Let's try one more if it's all right before we leave tonight. We got a bit of a late start. And so I think we're up to Kathleen.
Sure.
For can you come and teach? You see
Hey.
it?
Yep. Can you come and teach me with our certainty of having had the experience of the miracle of sobriety and the continuing miracle of self-realization that is the direct method of communication with the eternal reality?
And why don't we continue and then we'll discuss?
Sure. How inevitable of consciousness of the Bill Wilson, one of the founders of AA, who was typically helpless example of total addiction to any relief from impossible situation of this world, who finally underwent horrendous experience of the dark night of the soul. A father, why hast thou forsaken me? To a father into thy hands I commend my spirit. Advent of phenomenal physically and illuminatory experience of transformation. Bill's bed at the hospital, as witnessed by several nurses in the room, was literally enveloped in light. Where will you personally deal with an implicable transfiguration of this nature? It is impossible to say. The only possible measurement is totally present in your own personal dilemma, expressed as the frustration and the futility that occurs in your own need to find a true meaning and purpose for your existence in this world. Be assured of this: the entire reclamation project of the 12-step program and the Course in Miracles is totally based on divine revealing of and intervention by our own individual and universal source of reality, which is the eternally creating mind of God.
Comments, ladies?
Mhm.
That was a mouthful, Kathleen.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes when I read what I'm reading, I just go, "Oh, what a mind this person must have had to come up with something like this."
Is it any different than Yogananda?
No,
No.
Not Rumi. Who's the one that had a stroke?
Ram Dass.
Is it any different than Ram Dass?
No.
no,
How about Krishna?
No.
nope.
How about Martin Luther King?
No.
So, do you see what supernatural power starts to come through these humans
Yeah.
that have gone to power instead of force?
Mhm.
Do you see what we're capable of? How we're able to express? And it may sound so sophisticated, even intellectual, but boy, those nuggets in there are so bright.
And if you bring this just down to power and force is our humans' innate ability to want to control everything. And that's where it is. As long as we try to control or to force our humanness on our spirituality, we're just going to be in the abyss until we go to the silence, rest, and trust in just being.
Yeah. Have you noticed the problem with force is it inherently creates a counter force?
Yeah, I was going to say a kickback.
Whereas power is pure.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we didn't go to church for this, ladies. No disrespect to church. But it gives validity to church. I'm not saying all churches' teachings are just right. But it's, remember on Tuesday, we're talking about the ladder of prayer. And
Mhm.
when we came into prayer with entreaty, that wasn't true prayer, but you're getting in the right ballpark. Churches are at least in the right ballpark. So no disrespect to them whatsoever from me. But I need something I can see and be in the milieu of 24/7. Okay, I need a prayer closet as big as the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's what really helps stuff sink in for me. Any comments there? Again, a kind of abbreviated session. I appreciate your patience tonight. And I'm just looking, we're on page 15,
Mm-hmm.
second paragraph. Now that I got my bearings here, what do you say as we start to boogie on out of here?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
This-
much.
Great.
I may not be with you tomorrow evening. My
No,
son and daughter-in-law are coming in about that time. So if I can be here, I will, but I may not.
thank you. Thank you for letting us know. And the nice thing is, wherever the heck you end up, it's exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yes.
So walk full stride either way, okay?
Okay, will
Thank
do.
you, Carolyn. Thank you to everyone this
Thank
evening.
you.
And I'm just gonna do a quick smile check out of here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't, you see, I don't ask for much, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right. Wait, let me get Joan.
Yeah.
All right. How's your cat feeling? Is your cat smiling too, Joni?
Yeah, he's being a good boy.
All right. He knows a good talk when he hears it. All right. Thank you, ladies. Have a good
Thank you.
rest
Thank
of the
you.
evening.
Namaste.
And for both,
Namaste.
I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Can you cover me up?
Bye.
I can.